Happy New Year and welcome back to the Sing Confidently, Live Creatively podcast. We're here in 2025. Wow. Praise God. We made it, you guys. We're here in the new year, halfway through the decade. I am, first of all, just so grateful. Like, let's just take a second and be grateful for how God has brought us through. God has brought us into this new year. It is nothing short of a miracle. It's nothing short of God's grace. And I just want us to always keep that in mind. Like, as you're listening to this show, as you're here in this community, just know that at my very heart, at the very core of this, is just the realization that we have creative gifts that God, the ultimate creator, has given us. And we are excitedly developing them, building confidence in them, and using them and sharing them with the world. And man, are we going to do that in 2025? Okay. So let's get into today's episode. We are talking about the fact that as we're coming into this year, this is our year. This is your year, my friend, your year to start singing with confidence. Yes, yes, and amen. Let's go. So if you listen to the last episode on, planning our performing goals for 2025, then you know that we have some big things or small steps that we are planning to take in this new year. Okay. So go back and listen to the last episode. That was episode 190 on the podcast. Go back and listen to that. Pause this and go back and listen to that first so that you have your goals already outlined for this new year as a performing artist. Okay. So, as a performing artist, some of you are creatives of different types, different disciplines, and that's amazing. And I love that. But this show, I'm a performer myself. And so I really love to speak to performing artists, especially who are wanting to build confidence in singing. And so, but all creatives are always welcome here. And let me know if you are from a different discipline and if there's anything else that you would love to like talk about on the show. But if you haven't listened to that episode, go back and listen to it because we want to make sure that we know what our goal or goals are as performers coming into this new year, right? We want to make sure we have those down, like we know what they are, and making sure that we have found some way to hold ourselves accountable. So maybe you've come to the Facebook group, the Performing Arts Community on Facebook. Maybe you've DM'd me, right? Um, or you've posted on my last Instagram post where I asked you to let me know what your performing goal is. So you've gotten some sort of accountability. Maybe you've told a friend, a spouse, a loved one, right? And gotten someone to hold you accountable. Like someone knows that this is what your goal is. Someone knows that this is what you're wanting to do. And that's important. So they can hold you accountable. Okay. So hopefully we've done that. That's all in the last episode. Now, I want to empower you and I want to speak to you some practical tips also to get started when it comes to building confidence as a singer. So you have your goals, you have that like goal that you have in mind, and maybe you've broken down those steps to reach that goal, which I take you through in the last episode. Again, go back and listen to episode 190 if you haven't already. But sometimes we just need that like jump start, like that just empowerment, just like go, And so I want to speak that encouragement to you. I want to speak that over you and let you know that this can be your year. It really can be the year, your year to start singing with confidence as a performing artist. If you're an actor, you've been acting, you've been performing, you've been doing theater, but you don't feel so comfortable or confident in your singing voice when you go to audition, right? This is your year. This is your year to start singing with confidence. If you're someone who used to do theater when you were younger, you used to dance and sing and perform, now you're a little bit older, you're out of college maybe, and you just like have not sung in a long time since before college, since you started working, since you got married, you had kids, whatever life has, happened, you haven't even sung at all, like, and you're wanting to come back to that and you don't feel confidence, this is your year to start singing with confidence. What is your story? Whatever it is, I want you to know that this is your year to start singing with confidence. It truly can be if you believe it, if you agree with me, and you go along this journey with me. So, like for me, I want to just reflect a little because before we even start into like the practical steps is how do we build confidence in 2025 as singers, like how do we actually do that? Which I'm going to go through in a second, but real quick. But before we do that, I always like to start with reflection and surrendering to God. I'll be really like vulnerable and honest with you guys. Like my word for the year is surrender, total surrender. I wasn't even gonna like share that with anyone, but it is really something that's genuinely so like God is just speaking to me about like needing to surrender everything to him. And so sometimes, and to do that, that takes a little bit of reflection of like, how have I not surrendered in the past? What has brought me to this place of like, oh, where I am now? So as you're setting yourself up for this new year, take a second to reflect, think back, and, just like have a moment and just surrender, like, God, whatever you want to do this year, I'm excited for it. I'm here for it. Then we're going to take practical steps. But for me, I want to reflect a second and share with you, my story a little bit because some of you are new here and haven't heard it before. But for me, I grew up singing and performing my entire life, right? I was like that kid. Like my parents were so, so loving and generous and like putting me and my sisters in like dance classes when we were young, encouraging us to sing at church, singing in choirs and school, multiple choirs over different years, cheerleading, dancing, like acting, doing theater in school and even a community theater show, open mic nights, like doing like local competitions, like all sorts when I was younger. And, it was amazing and I loved it. And I never considered it for a career. It was just like something that I love to do. I actually wanted to work in fashion, which if you know me from like a long time ago, like college days, if you just scroll back on my Instagram, you'll see where I was a fashion blogger and a style grammar and a fashion grammar and all the things. Like scroll back and stalk me. You'll see. That's that creatively by Estelle on Instagram. But yeah, maybe don't. But if you want to, you can. I used to love fashion and I still do, but like I have really had more gifting in like the performing arts, but I just never thought like took it seriously enough as like a career because that was just not the upbringing that I had. I grew up daughter of Nigerian immigrants and Nigerian culture, if any of you are West African, Nigerian culture, there are like a certain careers that are expected of you. And singing and musical theater and acting, the arts are just not in that realm. Any children of immigrants will probably understand that. And so that was just like it was not in my viewpoint at all. And so I thought that I was going to be a doctor. Like I thought I would have to go to med school. And that was like, my parents are in healthcare and that's like the only path for me, even though I loved fashion. I wanted to do fashion and maybe sing on the side as well and like do all these things. And eventually, like in college, I was studying psychology, which I loved, and I was pre-med, which I didn't love, but but I had a voice minor at some point because I really was starting to fall in love with musical theater and I really wanted to sing more. And I realized that I wasn't singing as much as I had in high school. So I added on a voice minor and I was singing in the worship team at my college campus ministry. So those were ways that I was keeping myself actively engaged in singing all throughout college. And then after college came COVID and I was like, well, I really thought I was going to pursue performing, but I also have been applying to med school and maybe I just have to do that because there is no performing happening. Like it just scared me. I was living in fear. I was in a lot of fear. How many of you can relate to that feeling of like, oh, I would love to sing. I would love to do this professionally or just like as a hobby and be really intentional about it or as a ministry. But man, I'm afraid because I was stuck in fear for years, okay, about just wanting to perform. Like I really felt like God was like starting to call to me, like, you need to be a performing artist. You need to be creating. You need to be performing. But I was so afraid of like, I can't do this as a career. I just have to keep it to the side, just keep it to the side, keep it minimal, every now and then. And then I was singing in choir in church, and that was very consistent. And little did I know that God was using that to keep developing me vocally and keep me, in practice, which I'll talk about later. But that was a way that God was actually using that as a way for me to continue to sing even after college, even after I wasn't taking voice lessons, but I was still singing and I was still using my voice. And actually, I was realizing at that point that I didn't know if I liked the sound of my voice. I was struggling because I would hear other people singing in choir practice and I would be like, literally, I'd never talk about this, but like I would be like, oh my gosh, like I'm not even that good of a singer, like in my head. Can you imagine? Like, and I've been singing my whole life, but I just was starting to have that doubt. And meanwhile, I was like even starting to teach voice lessons here and there, like casually and all that stuff. But it was happening all at once. I was singing, but I wasn't like really taking it seriously because I was like wavering and I was like, no, I can't really do this professionally. So all this is happening right after COVID. And I have this whole break before med school would start. And I was using that time to pray and like, reflect and think and worry and be anxious. And at the same time, I was still singing. I was singing in choir. And I started to sing online too a little bit. And I started to dance a little bit online virtually because of COVID. And it was just kind of chaotic. At the end of the day, the fear won over and I went to med school. Like I went on that path. I went to a med school. It was in Barbados, but I started virtually. It was an international medical school that I started virtually. And then eventually I went to Barbados. And I loved my time there because I met a great friend and great friends in general, but a really close friend who really helped me feel like a safe space to hear from God. And that's when I realized that no, I know that I need to pursue performing. I know that I need to be an artist. I need to be teaching other people. I need to be teaching voice, actually. Um, and I loved doing that. And I wanted to lean into that more. And so that's when I left. And yeah, it was totally like a God thing. Like I knew God was telling me to do that. Oh, I literally get like, yeah, get that feeling that like stress every time I tell that story because it's like, oh, I was filled with so much shame. There was so much that I had to work through. How many of you have been filled with shame at your desire to sing and to perform? And you're like, who am I? Like, who do I think I am that I want to be on stage? Like, who do I think I am that I want to sing? Like, people are going to think I'm crazy for wanting to do that, for wanting to take a voice lesson. People are going to think that I think I'm someone that I'm not, right? People are going to think I'm selfish, like I'm doing this for myself. And, like those are the thoughts that come and it's shame. And that's not of God. That's of the enemy of the soul. Okay. It's the devil. Okay. Let's call it what it is. So, but I didn't realize that. Like I was stuck in shame a little bit, but I knew what God had told me. So I left. I started pursuing voice, like singing, acting. I started auditioning, started dance classes, started taking voice lessons, found a mentor, and started looking for grad programs in the arts and music. Because I still loved education. Like that was something that my parents instilled in me, that love for education. I really wanted that, but I just wanted it to be in the arts and music. And so it was hard because there was all this shame and all this stuff, but I decided to pursue it. I started to go all in. And what I discovered is that all this time, even all this time while I was going between fear and anxiety of like, should I go to med school? Should I not? And then I still went to med school. But all this time, singing still stayed with me. I still was singing. You might have gone away from singing. You might have gone to another path in your life and your career, but you still have that gift, that desire to sing. That is relevant. Okay. That is relevant. That is not worth ignoring. That is worth investing in. So all along, I realized that all along I had, this like, oh, like I was still singing. Like I still sang on worship teams in Barbados, I was everywhere that I went, in med school, out of med school, I was still singing. So this gift never left me. This passion, this love for singing never left me. And what I realized upon reflection and upon once I started teaching voice and I started learning, did a certificate in voice technique and musicianship at Berkeley online. I started growing and developing my skill in teaching music and in singing myself and in acting and performing. And I realized that all this time, even when I was wavering, God was still using circumstances and church and choirs and all these things, singing online, posting online, which I had done before med school. During med school, I was still posting videos of myself singing, and after med school as well. And yes, there was a change and a shift when I left med school because I started pursuing this professionally. But all along, I had begun building confidence in my voice in a way that I hadn't done before and that I hadn't been as intentional about until after I left med school. I started to be even more intentional about it. But even before that, there were things that I was doing that was helping me build confidence in my voice and in my singing. And I want to go through that process with you because this is what you need to do in 2025. If you want to build confidence in yourself as a singer, and it's going to be incremental, it's going to be step by step, and it's something that you continue this process again and again. But this is what I realized that I was still able to do, even when I was in medical school, even when I was doing something else, I was still building confidence in my voice over time because of this process that I'm about to go through. And then what happened is that when I made that decision to leave medical school and pursue singing and performing professionally, I just did this. I like did this even more with more intentionality. So, and my confidence in myself as a singer has grown exponentially in the last, let's see, that was end of 2021 that I left med school. This is 2025 now. So, okay, math 2022, 2023, 2024. In the last 3 years. Wow, was that really 3 years ago? That's crazy. But in the last 3 years, my confidence in myself as a singer has absolutely grown exponentially. So, this is how. Number one, it's getting to know your voice. This is a process I go through when I do my Sing Confidently master classes, which PS, you guys, I'm doing another workshop coming up at the end of this month. So keep an ear out for that. But I go through this process every time I do a Sing Confidently masterclass. I review this in depth as much as I can in the time allotted. And even more in depth, I walk you through this step by step in the Sing Confidently course, you guys. So this is how it goes. Number one, in 2025, you need to start to know your voice. You have to begin to know your voice. For me, that looked like starting to record myself singing. When I was in voice lessons in college, I did that. When I was in medical school, even, I started learning about, the larynx, the anatomy of the voice. And when I was learning taking those anatomy classes, I was thinking about myself as a singer. Can you imagine that? Like, literally, I'm in med school. I'm thinking about myself as a singer as I'm studying vocal, like the anatomy of the voice, right? And I did head and neck anatomy and all that. And like, I realized how much, like, I learned so much about the anatomy of the voice. Do you know about your voice, like how it works? Learning about that, learning about how the voice works anatomically, about what's relevant to singing when it comes to your lungs, when it comes to your abdomen, abdominal breathing, ribs, the diaphragm, like what are those things actually, and how do those actually relate to singing? I go through this in the course in very simple steps, just on a basic level so that you can have a good foundation. But if you don't know your voice, right, it's going to be hard for you to use your instrument if you don't know as much about it. So learning basic vocal anatomy, learning about how your voice sounds by recording yourself singing and listening back to yourself. Like, how do you act? Like, how does your voice actually sound at the moment that it is? Getting to know your voice, right? I have episodes on this. Scroll back on my podcast because I've talked about this for sure. But you can also come to the course and we can go through this together. But you got to get to know your voice. Number two is that in this new year, if you want to sing with confidence, you need to start practicing your voice, right? And how do you practice your voice? Oh my goodness. This is why we go through vocal warm-ups. Hello. That's the first step in practicing your voice, doing voice practice. You got to warm up your voice, get your voice ready to sing, honey. I have so many vocal warm-ups for you to go. Well, not so many. I'm starting to add more in this new year, but I do have a good amount of vocal warm-ups that you can follow along with on my podcast if you scroll on back. And also even on my TikTok and Instagram, I have some videos as well, but make sure you scroll on back. I also go through this in the course, but you can start to practice your voice. So set up practice time for you to sing, warm up your voice a little bit, do some exercises, and then start to work on that song. Any song, choose a song that you love, right? Start with choosing the song that you love and then start to practice it. You need to practice and prepare your voice before you then go to the next step. So again, this is what you're doing throughout 2025 as you're building confidence in your voice. Number one, you got to get to know your voice. Number two, you got to start to practice your voice. The third step is that you're going to start to express your voice. Yes, friends. So I was practicing, in even like during COVID, I wasn't taking voice lessons, but I would still practice. I would do voice practice. And I would practice when I would go to choir practice, right? So getting a community is a great idea too, to help you with practicing your voice. But then I would express my voice, right? I would practice choir practice. I would go to choir practice. I would do my vocal warm-ups before choir practice. I would go sing in choir practice. And then I would go and sing on stage on Sunday and I would worship God using my voice. I would express my voice, right? I would do vocal warm-ups by myself. And then I would turn on my video camera and I would perform to the video. I would express my voice and I post that on Instagram or TikTok, right? I started doing that as well. So practice your voice and then start putting yourself out there in small ways. I talk about this a lot. Small steps of action. Post a video on your stories on Instagram to your closest friends. just a snippet of you singing something, right? That's expressing your voice. Or go to an open mic night, or go and sing with your choir on Sunday, right? Express your voice in some way. You got to put yourself out there in order to build confidence as a singer. These are the things that I've done my entire life, and this is what I reflect on that I did even when I started to pursue this professionally. This is the same exact process. You got to know your voice, practice your voice, and start to express your voice. Put yourself out there. The fourth and last thing that you need to make sure you're doing in 2025 to build confidence as a singer is you need to work on continually improving your voice. How do you continue to improve your voice? Well, you do that through community, right? Having a coach, having a voice coach, right? Take voice lessons, find a voice teacher locally or online. I have lessons as well. I do discounted voice lessons for any student in the course, the Sing Confidently course. You get discounted voice lessons. Have someone hear you sing and give you that feedback and support that you need. Community can be in your choir, right? Join a community choir, go to audition for a community theater show that's expressing your voice, and then get into the show and get around other people who are better singers than you, who have more experience than you. That's your improvement. That's you improving yourself by getting a community. Another way that I talk about improving yourself is to kindly critique yourself by recording yourself, listening back, not only listening back, which is helping you to get to know your voice, but also by giving yourself feedback and saying, oh, let me do this differently next time, right? I go through that in depth on how to do that in a very supportive way for yourself in the course. And so I want you to go through these steps over and over and over again in 2025. This is what's going to help you start singing with confidence in this year. And I'm telling you this from personal, like, I literally just reflected on like, what have I actually done? Like, what has actually worked for me? These are the things that I've seen that have helped me build confidence in the voice that God gave me. And I want you to do the same thing. Start to know your voice. That's number one. Number two, practice. You got to practice, my friends. Pianists, violinists, every instrumentalist practices their instrument. For some reason, singers don't get that much. Like, I feel like singers aren't expected to practice as much, but you need to. You need to practice your instrument. Number three, you need to express your instrument. You got to start performing, putting yourself out there. And then number four, continue improving. And that takes coaching. I'm sorry, not sorry. Like, it does help a lot. Okay. I know, because I have my own teachers that have actually helped me so much in the past. But it can also look like just community, right? If voice lessons aren't in the budget right now, that's fine. Find community, find someone who can give you feedback, or also learn to critique yourself in a kind and supportive manner. These are ways that you can support yourself for free or little to no money at all. So definitely find those ways to improve. So those are your 4 steps. Okay, there you go. Do that in 2025 over and over again. You will see that you're building confidence in your singing voice. I'm so excited to go along with you in this journey in this new year. I'm so excited to see how you build confidence as a singer and a performer as you take these simple 4 steps and just do them again and again. Just keep knowing your voice, keep practicing, expressing, continue improving, and start all over again. Like, it's a step. These are steps, but it's also like a cycle. Like, you just keep doing them again and again. No one is perfect. I continue to do this. I continue to know my voice more and more. I continue to improve over time, right? So we need to keep these things going all throughout 2025 to build confidence as singers and performers. And I'm so excited for this and for us to do this together. So if you need that support, if you're ready to do this together with me, I invite you to join the Sing Confidently course in 2025. The Sing Confidently course is going to take you through this 4-step process, this cycle, and be supportive for you all throughout it. So basically it's a lifetime course. Like, you have lifetime access. That's the word I'm looking for. You get it once, you don't have to get it again. Like, you get it, you become a Sing Confidently course student of mine, and you forever and ever will always get discounted voice lessons. Unless anything changes, I'd let you know, but you get discounted voice lessons with me if you need that support every now and then. You don't have to do it all the time, but every now and then you need to pop in for a private voice lesson. I got you, right? You get that as soon as you become a Sing Confidently course student, you also get, coming in this new year, a live Q&A session with me, where if you're going through the course and you get stuck on something, you need some support, you can come to the Q&A session. Sometimes it might be like we're doing like a specific topic that we're tackling in the session as well, but there will be space for you to get, ask your questions, get coaching. Like, you can sing for me, I will give you coaching live on that call. So we'll be doing that in the new year. I'm really excited to be able to like engage with you as you're going through the course, so that you're not just like by yourself doing this. So you get a coach literally as soon as you get the course. And then you also get a free Facebook group, where you get to interact with other students and myself. You have any questions, pop it in that group. Any question at all, I will support you. I will answer you. And so it's just a great alternative to, voice lessons, private voice lessons. It's 2025, so the price has gone back to $197. And you can also do a payment plan, and like that's what you would pay for like 2 or 3 private voice lessons. And this is, something that you get forever and ever. So make sure that you grab onto this course, snag it for this new year. If you're ready to really build confidence as a singer in 2025, the course will help you go through that entire process so that you can actually do that. By the end of it, it guides you in such a way that you could have a performance by the end of the course. Like, you could have performed somewhere. Isn't that amazing? Like, you could reach your performing goal literally taking this course. So make sure that you go to creativelybyestelle.com/course if that's for you. I would love to welcome you in and to work with you. But I would just want you to leave you with this encouragement that as we go into this new year, this is your year to start singing with confidence, okay? Trust that God has given you the gift, the desire, the talents, and the desire to use the talents of singing, of performing, of impacting people with your voice. And you have the responsibility. You have the responsibility to take practical action this year. And guess what? You have the opportunity. It's a responsibility and it's an opportunity. And who knows? Who knows how you can be a blessing to so many people on the other side of just taking some practical steps. So go through this 4-step process, know your voice, practice your voice, express your voice, and improve your voice in 2025. I'd love to do that along with you. Come to creativelybyestelle.com/course if you're ready to work together, and I'd love to do that. I invite you to. If not, you're always welcome to come back to the podcast next week. I'll be right here with you, for you, encouraging you. And you can come on over to the Facebook community that's free for everyone as well to get any more extra support and encouragement in 2025. All right, this is our year to sing with confidence. Again, Happy New Year. Let me know if you have any questions, need any support whatsoever. I'm here for you, and I can't wait to talk to you later. Thank you so much for listening to today's episode and to this show. I'm so in awe of you for being here and showing up for your creative gifts. That takes courage. Don't forget to join the performing arts community on Facebook for support and inspiration as you continue on your journey. If this episode helped or inspired you in any way, please leave a review on Apple Podcasts and share it with someone. It means so much. Thank you again, and don't forget to keep singing, acting, dancing, performing, and living creatively. Talk to you next time.